Hey YouTube. So, I decided to do an update. I know I've been really bad at updating you guys on everything. That's probably because it slips my mind most of the time. But I know that I do have a couple people who like to follow me and keep updated, and I'm doing this for you because nothing drives me more crazy than watching videos or reading someone's blog and it just ends and you never figure out what happened to them. Did they get pregnant? Did some, and it drives me nuts. So I'm doing this for you. I've realized that the people who get the most views tend to be the ones who put a lot of effort into their videos. They look really nice and they have like all of this like animation and the graphics, and I just don't have time for that. And it's not necessarily that I don't have like the time, because I have lots of time. I don't work. I don't really do a whole lot other than housework, but it's just I don't really have the tools to do all of that. I have my phone, I have a laptop, but I don't know, it just seems like a lot of work, and I don't really care about how many people watch it as long as my story's documented, and that maybe one day a woman will come across my videos and be like, hey, that sounds like me, and then maybe I'll be pregnant, hopefully one day, and it'll instill some hope into some people. So that's really what I'm aiming for. So I'm going to really try to do better for you guys and update more often. So I didn't get to talk a whole lot about my trigger shot because I was really just anxious. I just wanted to get it done and over with. I wanted to record it, but I didn't put a whole lot of work into the video, so I apologize on that. But, so I'm going to talk a little bit more about it. And the reason being is because it was exhausting. The experience was exhausting. My RE is 2 hours away. So, it's just, it's an all-day event for us when we go and do it. And, basically what had happened was we were expecting a surge on Sunday. I believe it was Sunday we were expecting a surge, and I didn't get a surge. It was negative, which was really, really disappointing, which I knew in my head that I was going to have to do a trigger shot, but my insurance covers everything, and it's not that it covers it. I still have a deductible, and I still have to pay a percentage, but my upfront costs, they don't go through until it's processed through my claim center at my insurance company, and that normally takes a couple months. So we have a couple months to actually do things. So when we went up there, it was kind of a surprise. I called them Monday morning and I was like, hey, I didn't get my surge yesterday because they were closed on Sunday. And I was like, what do I do? And they're like, okay, we need you to come up today, which was shocking. I thought that they were going to be like, okay, come up tomorrow, no big deal. But no, they were like, we need you up here today, right now. We got to get you in for an ultrasound. So I called my husband and I was like, hey, you got to leave work right now. We got to go. So we left at like 8, 9 o'clock. We left. We went all the way up to St. Louis. It was about a 2-hour drive. And I saw them and they did an ultrasound. And I wasn't overwhelmingly pleased with the results. My left ovary was pretty blank. I had the follicles, but they were itty bitty, which is because of my PCOS. I have tons of follicles all the time. But then my right ovary had a big, beautiful one. And, of course, they do like the, I don't know if you've ever had one, but I'll explain it to you. You look and you see this big, beautiful, like, it looks like a black hole, essentially. And, they measure it, they measure the circumference of it, basically. So they measure top to bottom, left to right. And my top to bottom was 22, and my left to right was 20. So they averaged it out to a 20 millimeter follicle, which is what they liked. It was nice, big, and beautiful. I had another one that was an average of 11, but the maximum was about 13, I think. It was 13 millimeters. So I had 2 nice ones in my right ovary, which is depressing because I figured with all of my follicles that I would have more than one, but that's all you need is one. So I was happy that I at least had one that was mature. I was scared that I had none. So they're like, okay, great, you have this big, beautiful follicle, but you haven't picked up on a surge, so you're probably not going to get one on your own, which was, I was fine. I wasn't worried about doing the trigger, but when she had talked to me about it, we had called the pharmacist the pharmacy, the specialty pharmacy, about my trigger, and I have to have a pre-authorization for my prescriptions, which is weird because I already pre-authorized for the infertility treatment, but the like shots and everything had to be pre-authorized. So I was like, okay, how much is it? And they were like $150. And, you know, I mean, here's a surprise probably to most people. Infertility isn't cheap. It's not. It's crazy expensive. That was a joke, by the way. Everybody knows it's crazy expensive. But, I mean, you don't have to be rich to go through infertility treatments, okay? We're not by far rich. I mean, we're, we pay our bills, but, I mean, we struggle, between paying for this, paying for gas, going back and forth. I mean, paying for all of my, like, silly vitamins and new things I want to try. I mean, it's tough on us, and I don't work, which I'm very thankful for. But, it's hard on us. So, we just got done paying all of our bills. We paid all of them off, and we weren't expecting to have to pay out of pocket for the trigger. So we just didn't have the money. And we left. I was devastated. I was mad. I was kicking and screaming. I was throwing a tantrum like a child. I was so upset that my body produced this follicle. I wasn't able to trigger it. I couldn't afford it. I was so mad at myself. I was so mad at everybody. I have never had that intense of a cry. Oh my gosh, I bawled. I was so upset. About an hour outside of St. Louis, so about the middle from home to St. Louis, my mother had called me, and she came up with the money to pay for my trigger shot, and I had never felt more blessed in my life. We don't ask for help from other people, just because, I don't know, we like to do things on our own, but I had posted on my Facebook page, which I update all my friends and family on, about my journey, and I basically said that I was unable to trigger because our insurance didn't cover it, and I actually had multiple people offer to pay for it, and it was probably the most beautiful thing I've ever read on Facebook. So I had the money now to pay for my trigger. I called my nurse back. I was like, hey, put it on prescription. Well, the specialty pharmacy had closed. So we were about an hour out, and I was like, what do I do? She's like, well, there's another specialty pharmacy on the other side of St. Louis, which is an hour and a half-ish from where we were. They're open 24 hours. So I was like, okay, well, we'll do it. We'll do it there. So we paid for it, drove all the way there, and it was like 3 o'clock when we were in the middle of St. Louis, 3, 4 o'clock. So it was like after work rush hour. Oh my God. It took us 2.5 hours to get there through St. Louis traffic. Finally got there, got my trigger, and then we had to drive home. My poor husband was just, oh my gosh, he was ready to just jump out of the car. We finally got home, and 30 minutes after we got home, I had to do my trigger. So I was just exhausted at that point. I was like, let's just do this trigger. Let's just get it done and over with. So we triggered, and I had one digital OPK left. So the next day I took my OPK, and it was the most beautiful positive OPK I've ever seen in my life. Of course, I got the little smiley face, but you pop out the thing, and it's like, don't read those lines, but I always do. And my last positive OPK was like, it was like they were kind of the same color, but this time, I mean, that one was so much darker than that other one. And like, I know it was the trigger shot, but I was just so happy that it worked, and that like I knew it worked, and I was just really excited. And I'm not testing out my trigger, and this is why, is because I've never been pregnant. I don't think I've actually ever met someone who has never been pregnant and is struggling with infertility. Most people are struggling with secondary infertility that I know of. So I have never been pregnant. I have never seen a positive pregnancy test before in my life. I've never seen a positive. And I know that if I tested out my trigger, I would see that positive, and that's just something I'm not ready to see when I know that it's not me being pregnant. So I'm not testing at all. If I get my period, I get my period. If I don't get my period, I'll test. And it's going to be torture, but I know that some women's trigger stays in until 10, 11 DPIUI would be it. Or I guess days past trigger would be the proper term for it. So, because of that, I'm just not going to test at all. It's just the best way to do it, and it's going to suck, but I know that I could get that false positive, and that would absolutely destroy me. So, moving on. All right. So, now, I did my IUI yesterday. Now, my first IUI didn't hurt. It felt like a pap smear, you know, the speculum and everything. I felt a lot of discomfort. I will say that. But I wasn't in pain. Like, I could feel pressure and like it was uncomfortable and I didn't want that thing in me. But, you know, I didn't feel any kind of pain. Now, compared to my HSG, which I had, which if you don't know what that is, that's when they test your tubes, make sure that they're open and clear and all that good stuff, and they put a catheter inside of it, but the catheter is typically thicker because it has a microscope and a dye in it. So, that was the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. I have tattoos, piercings, everything and that was the worst thing I've ever had happen to me. And I'm sure child labor is going to be at the top when I have a kid, but right now my HSG is right there. So, my IUI was nothing. It was on the level of a pap smear discomfort. It didn't hurt. The first one. Now, I did my second one yesterday. And, oh my God. It was right there with my HSG. It was a different doctor, which my husband swears up and down it was my nurse, which kind of concerns me because I don't know if it was like the position of my cervix, if it was, it could have been a million factors, honestly. But I was laying there and, you know, I was all confident, it's not going to hurt. And they put the speculum, she put the speculum in, and she was trying to get it to cut my cervix. And I could feel her trying to cut my cervix. And that hurt so bad alone. That was just, I was in so much pain. And I have an extremely high pain tolerance. But, oh my gosh, it was just absolutely terrible. So, they're trying to cup it. She finally cups my cervix. And then I am just like sitting there super uncomfortable. I'm like, okay, this sucks. So, she's like, okay, I'm getting ready to insert the catheter. And then she inserts it. Well, the only reason I know she inserts it is because she says the worst part is over. And as soon as she finishes that sentence, I have the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. And I'm assuming that was when she inserted the catheter because she said that it was over and then it hurt, so I don't understand. Anyway, so that was the worst pain. It was in so much pain, I jumped back on the table and I started crying. I was crying, I was like squealing like a little kid. It was terrible experience. And you know, she's like, okay, I'm injecting it now. And I mean, I could feel her injecting it and like I was still in so much pain. And so she's like, okay, I'm released. And then I didn't feel anything. You know, she pulled it out and she lowered the speculum and everything. And I was in so much pain. I was shaking. I was laying there on the table shaking. And I was crying. I had tears rolling down my face. She's like, take your time, you know, lay here as long as you need to. And that was yesterday at 8:30 in the morning. I am still in pain. I'm bleeding and I'm still in pain. My first IUI, I was cramping, but I am in pain. Like, I fell asleep at 7 o'clock yesterday, and I just woke up. And, I mean, I can't walk. When I walk, I have to kind of, like, hunch over a little bit and walk. I mean, I'm in so much pain right now. And it, like, goes all the way from my cervix all the way to, like, my butt. Like, it hurts everywhere down there. Like, from my belly button down, it hurts. And I don't want to scare anybody away from an IUI because I know what I described was extremely, like, graphic. And it was like, oh, my God, I don't want to go through that. But every IUI is different. Every woman experiences an HSG differently. So don't be scared because... you know, my husband was like, oh my God, I don't want you to be scared to do the next IUI if you have to do one. And I'm like, I'm not scared. And the reason why I'm not is because there are so many things that factor into that procedure that, you know, it's not it's not guaranteed that that the experience will be the same, because I know it won't. There are so many women who are like, oh, my IUI didn't hurt, or women who are like, oh my God, my IUI almost killed me. And, then they're like, my second IUI didn't hurt, my third one did, my fourth one, whatever it is. So don't be discouraged from doing an IUI, because your experience may be completely different. I'm just basically ranting about how terrible mine was, and my husband joked around, and he was like, oh, well, maybe they just got it in there really good. And I'm like, yeah, that's a great way to look at it. She just got it really far up in there this time. So, anyway, so I am 1 day past IUI, and 4 days past trigger. Something like that. I don't know. I'm taking a relax cycle, so I haven't been temping. I haven't been checking my cervix. I haven't been doing anything, and I'm hoping that this doesn't have anything to do with why I didn't ovulate, but I didn't take my vitamins for like a week before my ovulation that I was supposed to have. And that was probably a big no-no on my part. I should have taken them, but I'm back on them. I am not doing pineapple this cycle. Why? Because I hate pineapple, and I'm tired of doing it, and this is my relax cycle. My RE told me have no restrictions during my IUI. He said do whatever you want. You want to have a glass of wine? Go have a glass of wine. You want to go hiking? Go hiking. You want to, take a hot bath? Take a hot bath. All those things that you hear don't do after an IUI, my RE's like, it's fine. Do whatever you want. You're not pregnant yet. Nothing's going to prevent it. Nothing you do can prevent that egg from fertilizing. And it makes a lot of sense, because there are people who get pregnant behind a shed who don't lift their legs up for 5 minutes, But, of course, when we had sex, I still put my legs up. That's the only thing that I've actually done. I have not had caffeine for a while, this cycle, but my day of my IUI, I had a soda. Why? Because he said no restrictions, and I'm going to be relaxed this cycle. I'm going to have a glass of wine tonight. I'm just going to try this and see how it goes. I'm going to be completely relaxed. I'm not going to stress as much as I usually did, which is a lot easier said than done, because I'm already like, oh, is this it's just stupid because I had my IUI yesterday. But of course, you're just like counting down everything, and you're like feeling everything, and like, oh, is this different? Is this different? But as I said, I'm relaxed this cycle. I am not going to stress out, because it didn't help me last cycle. I wasn't stressed, but I did everything. I wore warm socks. I didn't take a bath. I didn't paint my fingernails. I wish you guys could see that car that just drove by. I think that was like a El Camino on like tire truck wheels. Anyway, that was really strange. I don't even know what I was saying anymore. Oh, last cycle. Right. Okay. So last cycle, I did everything that you could think of that you're supposed to do. Like, I took all my vitamins. I only drank water. I did everything. I didn't drink wine. I tried my best. I pretty much put myself on bed rest for my 2-week wait. I didn't do anything. I just laid there with like warm socks on, drinking my warm tea. I only had warm liquids, and I wasn't pregnant. Granted, my HCG was at a 2, which suggested that at one period of time, the egg could have been fertilized, and that it just failed to implant. But I wasn't pregnant. So I can't really look at that as that it actually worked. So as I said, I'm having a relaxed cycle. I am 1 day past IUI, 4 days past trigger, and I am relaxing. So, with that being said, I think that's all I really have to mention to you guys. Next time you see me, my hair's probably going to be blonde again. I know I had a friend, Don Kandara, mention something about my hair, and I hate this, actually. Interestingly, I am a natural blonde. You can kind of see my roots are coming in really light. And while I had blonde hair, and then I was like, oh, I want strawberry blonde hair, which is terrible. Don't do that, because you put red in your hair and it's just a mess. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do strawberry blonde. And I did it, and then of course it was like really red, like ginger red, and I was like, I look terrible. And so I was like, well, how do you pull red out? Well, you either bleach it, which is going to turn it orange and yellow, and then it's going to take forever to get white, or you throw brown on top of it, and then it's no longer an ugly orange. But that means that when I go back to blonde, it's going to be so much harder to do. So, I'm like, okay, well, I want to be blonde again because I hate this hair. I know that you like it, but I hate it. It's disgusting. It's not me. So I'm probably going to be blonde the next time you see me. I might be a different color. Maybe. I'm not sure yet. I've had every color under the rainbow. I actually do hair, so that is kind of just like my passion. So I'm constantly doing a million different things, and I can answer all your questions about hair care. Anyway, also, I have officially started doing nails. So, it's cool, right? Anyway, I think that's all I have for you guys. I know this was a really long video, and, you know, it's just kind of nice to have someone to talk to and someone to listen to, and, I'm pretty excited. Oh, for anybody who's probably watching in my area, which is probably zero, but I'm going to mention it anyway, on Facebook, I started it's called Southern Illinois Infertility Group, and it's basically for all of my women around me who are struggling with infertility, because I love my Kendara ladies. I can tell you that. I love them. They're family to me. I mean, I talk to one of the girls, Mercedes, like on a daily basis through Facebook. Like, she's my biggest supporter right now. So I want to give a shout out to all of my ladies. I don't actually know a lot of their real names, but everybody who follows my chart every month, you guys are like everything to me. Like, it's so motivational to see all these people like rooting you on. So I have all of that, but I did this because sometimes it's, you know, I'm sure that a lot of you are going through exactly what I'm going through. I just actually made a new Facebook. I haven't had one for years. And I made one, and of course all my high school friends are like adding me. They're like, oh my God, you know, I gotta be friends with you. I thought you were dead. I actually had someone say that. So I'm looking at them, and they're trying to add me, and I made the Facebook specifically for my friends, or for my family, and like a couple of my super close friends, because it's basically about our journey through this infertility process. So I didn't want a lot of people knowing about it. At least I just didn't want their opinions on it. But every single girl who added me had one kid or more, or just found out they were pregnant. I had one girl who was like, married for a year, I'm getting a divorce, and then like 2 days later she messaged me and was like, oh, I just found out I'm pregnant. And I'm just like, how does that happen? Like, how do you, like, whoops? Like, I don't know. It just drives me nuts. But, I mean, every girl who's added me has been pregnant. And I'm not lying to you. Every single friend that I've had in high school is pregnant now with at least one or more kids. I have one girl who has 6 kids. I'm 23, just to give you, like, a roundabout idea of, like, my friends. So, I mean, it's just so devastating. Because it's like, I know that, like, infertility is such a low statistic. But, I mean, I don't understand that. Like, how am I the unlucky one? I mean, you know, I just don't understand. Like, most of my friends didn't go to college. They didn't do anything. And I know that's supposed to be, like, the statistic for good parenting, which they're all lovely parents. I'm not saying anything bad about them. But it's like, you know, I mean, I guess because of my infertility, I've had more time to focus on everything. You know, I have a house. My husband has a bachelor's. I'm married. We've been married successfully for almost 2 years now. So it's like, it's just really frustrating to see all of these people, and I can't hang out with any of them. And that's the thing, is like, every time I go to, like, hey, you guys want to go do something, they're like, oh yeah, but I have to bring my kid with me. And I love children, that's why I want one. But a lot of times, especially during, like, my 2-week wait, I just don't want to, like, be around you and your kid, because all I can do is sit there and think, oh, that's going to be me one day. And then my mind's like, oh, well, maybe it's not going to be you. And it's just depressing, you know? And, I mean, so basically, back to my point of why I was making my infertility group on Facebook. It's called Southern Illinois Infertility, and it is for all of the ladies in my area, or, I mean, male factors, you know, whoever, struggling with infertility. And that's my main reason is, mailman's here, dogs are gonna go crazy. That's my main reason for why I made it, is because I want to reach out to those women who are struggling. And I actually already met someone, and she's having an IVF benefit because that's her only choice, and she doesn't have insurance. And I'm going to attend to it because it's so important that we support each other. It's so important because, you know, infertility and even just general knowledge about your body as a woman it's easily accessible on the internet, but it's not taught. It's not talked about. There is no awareness going on about infertility. Most people have no idea what it is. All my friends who are like, they ask me so many questions. They're curious. What's insemination? What's an IUI? They ask me like a million questions, and most of them are repeat questions. Like, they ask me like 3 different things. What's an IUI? What's insemination? They're the same thing, but, it's just, it's amazing how much people want to know and how much people don't know. So, it's just really important that we reach out there, and I would encourage even you to make a Facebook page about, your local area, whether mine's Southern Illinois, that's just how we divide our Illinois state, Southern, Central, North, but whatever you do, you make a Facebook page or reach out there and see if there's one out there, or find a support group or start a support group, because it is so important that we have that. We have our friends, we have our loved ones, but when it comes down to it, having another woman that you're able to go to who is struggling with you is uplifting. And it's so nice because my friend Mercedes, she's in Arkansas. She's 1,000,000 miles away from me. Not really like 1,000. But, it's amazing to me how when I get down and depressed, I'm able to reach out to her and I'm able to, contact her. And even though it's not in person, I'm able to, we're able to support each other. She's able to tell me, don't give up. It's going to get better. You'll get pregnant, and that to me means everything because, as much as my husband can say, don't give up, he doesn't really have a whole lot to, lot to struggle with. I mean, he wants a kid as bad as I do, but, nothing's wrong with him. He has the easy job, and it's just so nice to hear it from another woman who's like, don't give up, it gets better. So basically that's kind of where I'm at. Long video, but I just wanted to give a shout out to all of my ladies who are supporting me through Kandara, especially Mercedes, just because she's been such a huge help for me. And everybody else who's watching this, I know I've had like 30, 35 views in the past, so I really appreciate that just because it just means that my word's getting out. And, I know that I rant a lot and I don't have a lot to say, but I just want you guys to know that I appreciate you. And this is what's going on with me. And hopefully May 6th is my period due date, I guess you could say. So probably May 6th or May 7th, I'll be giving another video unless something dramatic happens. I'll be making another video on my results of my IUI number 2. And if this one fails, what we have decided to do is in May, we're just going to use medication. I'm going to request an upward dosage of my letrozole because obviously I didn't ovulate this time. And we're not going to do an IUI. We have a week vacation in Miami coming up in May, at the end of May. And because I typically ovulate towards the end of the month, the IUI, I just feel like, maybe we'll throw an IUI in there if I happen to surge before, but I'm just really not going to stress about it. I'm really not going to stress about the IUI. I am going to take the letrozole, and just so that I do ovulate, because obviously, we're going to be doing what we got to do. So, basically, that's what's going on. So, I think that's really all I have to say. Unless I can think of something else in the next couple of seconds. Nope, I can't. So, anyway, I will update you guys all soon, and I really, really, really hope I have good news. If not, onward to the next one.